Before we begin our exploration of Hinduism, let me ask you a question. Why should the Western student study Hinduism? Why approach the daunting, ancient texts of the Rig Veda or the Bhagavad Gita, or wade into the mystical heart of world religions at all? As author and professor Huston Smith so elegantly reminds us in his book, The World's Religions, 2,500 years ago, it took an exceptional man like Diogenes to exclaim, "I am not an Athenian or a Greek, but a citizen of the world." Today we must all be struggling to make those words our own. We will examine the origins and scriptures of this ancient ideology, its evolution over millennia, and the modern divergences found today within mystical Hinduism. So let's begin. The origins of Hinduism are deeply intertwined with the ancient civilizations of the Indian subcontinent. Emerging from the Indus Valley civilization, one of the world's earliest urban cultures, Hinduism evolved over thousands of years, absorbing diverse influences and adapting to changing social and cultural contexts. To understand the origins of Hinduism, let's travel back to the first whispers of Hindu philosophy, to the Rig Veda, the world's oldest religious scripture still in use. The Rig Veda, composed around 1500 BCE, is the oldest of the four Vedas and serves as a foundational text in Hinduism. Divided into 10 books called mandalas, the Rig Veda is a collection of over 10,000 verses, composed in ancient Sanskrit by male and female sages alike, at a time when the status of women was progressive even by today's standards. It is the earliest known scripture where women had the status of prophets, with over 30 female sages credited in the Rig Veda and its associated literature. The Rig Veda presents a cosmos alive with divine presence distributed throughout nature, wherein atmospheric phenomena, celestial bodies, and terrestrial elements are understood as manifestations of conscious agencies rather than inert matter. The cyclical processes of creation, maintenance, and dissolution operate through a mythological language wherein gods such as Indra, Agni, and Varuna embody fundamental forces, the generative power of storms and fertilizing waters, the transformative agency of fire, and the ordering principle underlying moral and natural law. Central to this naturalistic theology stands Soma, the plant of immortality, whose consumption bridged the material and transcendent realms, functioning simultaneously as a botanical substance, a divine entity, a symbol of renewal, and the very nectar through which the gods themselves sustain their eternal nature and the cosmic order. Soma is both a sacred deity and the ritual drink pressed from a mysterious plant, celebrated for its divine power to invigorate, illuminate consciousness, and grant immortality to the gods and priests. Modern scholarship, notably R. Gordon Wasson, proposes that Soma may have been a psychoactive mushroom, linking Vedic ritual ecstasy to entheogenic experience, though its precise botanical identity remains debated. Through this elaborate system of correspondences between the visible world and its divine prototypes, the Vedic tradition articulated a comprehensive understanding wherein human ritual participation in the Soma ceremony represented humanity's conscious alignment with the universal cycles that govern both celestial mechanics and the regeneration of existence itself. So, what does the Rig Veda teach? On the origin of the universe. There was neither non-existence nor existence then, neither the realm of space nor the sky which is beyond. What stirred, where, in whose protection? There was neither death nor immortality then, no distinguishing sign of night nor of day. That one breathed, windless, by its own impulse. Other than that, there was nothing beyond. Darkness was there at first, by darkness hidden, without distinctive marks. This all was water, that which, becoming, by the void was covered. That one by force of heat came into being. Who really knows? Who will here proclaim it? Whence was it produced? Whence is this creation? Gods came afterwards with the creation of this universe. Who then knows whence it has arisen? Whether God's will created it, or whether he was mute. Perhaps it formed itself, or perhaps it did not. The supreme Brahman of the world, all-pervasive and all-knowing, he indeed knows. If not, no one knows. Western practitioners may notice similarities and differences here to the creation story found in the book of Genesis. The Rig Veda presents the universe emerging from an indefinite, ineffable source through cosmic inquiry and sacrifice, while Genesis depicts a deliberate, orderly creation by a personal God, speaking the cosmos into existence. On spiritual cooperation, Meet together, talk together, let your minds apprehend alike. In like manner as the ancient gods concurring, accepted their portion of the sacrifice. Common be the prayer of these assembled worshippers. Common be the acquisition. Common the purpose, associated be the desire. I repeat for you a common prayer. I offer for you with a common oblation. Here, spiritual work and ritual gain their potency not from mere action, but from the alignment of minds and hearts in collective purpose, echoing the cosmic principle that cooperation and shared focus amplify the flow of sacred energy, much as the ancient gods' concord brought order and fruition to the primordial sacrifice. On Soma, we have drunk Soma and become immortal. We have attained the light the gods discovered. The origins of religion may have arisen from profound experiences induced by entheogenic plants like Soma in the Rig Veda, where altered states revealed the divine, inspiring ritual, myth, and the conceptualization of gods and cosmic order. On the reconciliation of sin, what, Varuna, hath been my chief transgression, that thou wouldest slay the friend who sings thy praises? Tell me, unconquerable Lord, and quickly sinless will I approach thee with mine homage. Free us from sins committed by our fathers, from those wherein we have ourselves offended. In this context, Varuna represents the cosmic moral order and the all-seeing divine principle that governs truth, justice, and the consequences of both personal and ancestral actions. Here lies a teaching on conscious moral accountability, emphasizing that true spiritual approach requires recognition of inherited and personal transgressions, sincere inquiry into divine justice, and purification of both ancestral and individual faults to align with the higher cosmic law. On plurality and universality, the wise speak of what is one in many ways, or translated another way, God is one and the sole ruler of the universe. God is one, but the learned call him by many names. We may understand this as an affirmation of the essential unity underlying all existence, where the divine is singular, yet perceived and named differently according to human understanding and perspective. The later Vedas reaffirm a respect for diverse viewpoints, honor the inquiry of skeptics, and recognize multiple languages and spiritual paths. They emphasize unity and diversity and encourage dialogue among different traditions. Moving onwards, central to the Rig Veda and later Hindu practice is the use of mantras for meditation. Throughout mystical Hinduism, mantras act as those numinous utterances believed to hold magical religious power and play the role of vehicles to the divine. In Hinduism, a mala or japa mala is a string of beads or knots used in praying and meditating. Mala means meditation garland in Sanskrit and is used to keep count of the number of mantra repetitions, called japas, during meditation. Christian viewers may see parallels to the concept of the rosary, used for counting the repetition of prayers. Mantra literally means a tool for the mind, from the Sanskrit words manas, meaning mind, and tra, meaning tool. The Rig Veda speaks of mantras as expressions of divine energy, or as reflecting the presence and power of deities like Agni or Indra. The mantras are often seen as vessels of sacred power. One of the oldest and most concise mantras we encounter is the concept of Om, the primordial sound that encompasses all other sounds within itself. This sacred sound is seen as the vibration from which the universe springs. The Rig Veda itself proclaims, "The sun bears the sacred word in his mind." The later mystical commentaries on the Vedas, called the Upanishads, expand on this, with scholars who interpret them writing, "There was only one Veda in the beginning. It was Om. This word, which is Om, is the cause of the whole cosmos. The mind of the universe, the cosmic mind, got united with this word. Consciousness vibrated through this word for the purpose of the manifestation of the universe." This explanation directly invokes the primordial sound, or word, as the principle of creation and cosmic genesis. Many religions refer to a creative principle expressed as word or sound. In Christianity, the Gospel of John introduces the Logos as the creative word, saying, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." In Hinduism, in the Bhagavad Gita, it identifies Om as the primordial sound, wherein the deity Krishna identifies himself thus, "Among words, I am the monosyllable Om." There are linguistic parallels between the Hindu Om and the Amen found in Hebrew, and Amin found in Arabic, which both mean faithful or truthful, although it cannot be definitively said in a scholarly sense that these transmissions were direct. Hindu thought describes liberation as moving from asat, or incomplete being, to sat, or true being, culminating in unity with Brahman, which is aided by the utterance of these mantras, in the same way that Abrahamic prayers are said to bring practitioners closer to God. We are beginning to understand the foundations of one of the world's oldest religions. The Rig Veda represented natural forces and the cyclical nature of existence through the personification of myth, metaphor, allegory, and symbol. Centered on the divine plant Soma, which many scholars now consider to be entheogenic or psychedelic. This text emphasizes personal union with the divine. So how did Hinduism evolve past the Rig Veda? The four Vedas, of which the Rig Veda is the earliest, are the foundational scriptures of Hinduism. Let's briefly summarize the other three, which were written after the Rig Veda between 1500 BCE and 500 BCE. The first Veda, the Rig Veda, as we just discussed, explores the nature of the universe through hymns of praise. The second Veda, the Sama Veda, primarily consists of musical arrangements of verses from the Rig Veda in the form of melodies and chants. The third Veda, the Yajur Veda, contains liturgical texts, sacrificial formulas, and mantras for performing rituals. And the fourth and final Veda, the Atharva Veda, includes spells, charms, and incantations for healing, protection, prosperity, as well as philosophical hymns and early treatises on medicine and daily life. Each Veda is also divided into four sections: the Samhitas, or mantras, the Brahmanas, or commentaries on rituals, the Aranyakas, or symbolic meaning of rituals, and the Upanishads, or philosophical and spiritual knowledge on each Veda. The Vedas were not written by a single author, but were revealed to ancient sages called rishis, who received the knowledge through meditation. These rishis then passed the hymns down orally for generations, before the sage Vyasa compiled and organized them into the four Vedas we have today. The Rig Veda's spiritual language is veiled, but the Upanishads draw it into profound clarity. Think of the Vedas as a large tree, and the Upanishads as the fruits of wisdom found at the end of its branches. The term Upanishads is both a specific category within the Vedas and a general term for a body of texts that came after the authorship of the Vedas. These latter Upanishads were composed between the last centuries BCE and the mid-second millennium CE and mark a significant shift in Vedic thought, emphasizing introspection and the quest for ultimate reality. The Upanishads, like the Vedas, were not written by a single author, but were composed by various ancient sages and ascetics. Many Hindus believe that the texts are authorless, meaning they are divinely received rather than human authored. The word Upanishad means sitting down near in Sanskrit, referring to a student sitting close to a spiritual teacher to receive secret or esoteric knowledge about ultimate philosophical problems and the nature of reality. They introduce concepts such as Brahman, the ultimate reality, and Atman, the individual soul, exploring their relationship and the nature of existence. The Upanishads delve into profound philosophical inquiries, addressing questions about the nature of the self, the universe, and the divine. They encourage a journey inward, seeking to understand the ultimate truth that transcends the material world. There are traditionally 108 Upanishads or Upanishads that make up this collection of ancient Hindu philosophical texts. Out of these, a dozen or so are considered the oldest and most important, known as the Mukhya Upanishads. The Upanishads ask, what is Brahman, the infinite? We find in the Katha Upanishad, the spirit is the swan that settles in the purity. He is all that is born of water and all that is born of earth. He is the truth and he is the mighty one. The goal of existence, according to the Upanishads, is the merging of the individual soul called Atman with the ultimate reality called Brahman. This union, known as moksha, involves the release of the soul from the cycle of rebirth called samsara, and is often described metaphorically, such as the rivers merging into the sea. The Mundaka Upanishad's famous image, two birds in one tree, encapsulates this connection, where the two birds represent the individual soul and the Supreme Self. One of them eats the sweet fig, the other abstaining from food and merely looks on. This passage finds its origin in the Rig Veda. In mystic practice, the Upanishads turn from outer ritual to inner realization. In the Chandogya Upanishad, we find, the Atman or self, hidden in the heart, must be found. This pivot from Vedic ritual to Upanishadic contemplation parallels the later Yoga Sutras, the Sufi mystics, and the esoteric Christian contemplatives. What was once called yajna, or outer sacrifice, becomes interior spiritual transformation. Next, we have the Ramayana, an epic narrative that provides moral and ethical guidance through the character of Rama. The Ramayana is attributed to the author Valmiki and is thought to have been written between the 7th and 4th centuries BCE. This text is an ancient Indian epic detailing the life of Prince Rama, an avatar of the god Vishnu, who is exiled from his kingdom, whereby his wife Sita is abducted by the demon king Ravana. Rama then undertakes a journey with his loyal brother Lakshmana and the powerful monkey god Hanuman to rescue her. After a great battle where Ravana is defeated, Rama and his wife Sita return to their kingdom to rule, signifying the triumph of good over evil. The name Ramayana is composed of two words. Rama, the name of the main figure of the epic, has two contextual meanings. In the Atharva Veda, it means dark-colored or black, and is related to the word Ratri, or the darkness or stillness of night. The other meaning, which can be found in the Mahabharata, which we will soon discuss, is pleasing, pleasant, charming, lovely, and beautiful. Rama is also shortened to Ram. The second half of the word Ramayana, beyond Rama or Ram, is Ayana, meaning travel or journey. Thus, Ramayana means Rama's journey. This text is one of the largest ancient epics in world literature and consists of nearly 24,000 verses, divided into 7 books. The Ramayana is attributed to legendary poet Valmiki and begins not with war or politics, but with a sage moved to compassion upon witnessing a hunter kill a bird, signaling that all is consciousness, all is interconnected. This deeply emotional moment of sorrow is a pivotal event in the epic, as it leads to the creation of the first verse. Rama is the ideal man and becomes an icon of Dharma, both the cosmic order and the inner spiritual quest. Next, we have the Ramacharitamanasa, or Ramacharitamanasa. This text is a 16th century poetic retelling of the ancient Ramayana, though its summary differs in language, thematic focus, and specific story details. This text's author, the poet saint Tulsidas, rendered the Ramayana from Sanskrit into the vernacular Awadhi, so ordinary men and women could encounter the epic without priestly mediation. We encounter the same spirit in the figure of Paracelsus, who you may remember from our video on alchemy, who was likewise driven by the conviction that truth belongs to the living world, not to closed institutions. Paracelsus chose to write his medical works in German rather than Latin, not solely out of rebellion, but a belief that healing and wisdom are gifts meant for all, believing ordinary people were no less entitled to understanding nature's remedies than the university scholar. Another example of a similar philosophy is that of Martin Luther, who translated the Bible from Greek and Hebrew into the language of the people, German, so that scripture could speak directly to every believer. While the Ramayana portrays Rama as an exemplary human king, the Ramacharitamanasa, or Ramacharitamanasa, presents him as a divine incarnation of Vishnu. Tulsidas's Ramacharitamanasa shifts the lens to the virtuous path of wisdom and bhakti, the path of love, wherein we find the following. Wisdom dawns not without association with saints, and such association cannot be easily had without the grace of Rama. Contact with noble souls is the root of joy and blessings. It constitutes the very fruit and fulfillment of all endeavors, whereas all other practices are blossoms, as it were. Through contact with the virtuous, even the wicked get reformed, just as a base metal is transmuted by the touch of the philosopher's stone. On the other hand, if by mischance good men fall into evil company, they maintain their noble character like the gem on the hood of a serpent. This exaltation of wisdom is immediately followed by a passage on the importance of compassionate devotion. I bow to the saints who are even-minded towards all and have no friend or foe. Just as a flower of good quality, placed in the palm of one's hand, communicates its fragrance alike to both the hands, the one which plucked it and that which held and preserved it. Realizing thus the noble disposition and loving nature of saints, who are innocent at heart and Catholic or all-embracing in spirit, I make this humble submission to them, listening to my childlike prayer and taking compassion on me. O noble souls, bless me with devotion to the feet of Rama. This text acts as an allegory of the soul's journey from ignorance to spiritual realization through love, virtue, and surrender to the divine. The next text, the Bhagavad Gita, often called the Gita, presents a dialogue between Prince Arjuna and Lord Krishna on the battlefield, addressing the moral dilemmas faced in times of war and the path to spiritual enlightenment. The battlefield becomes both a real and symbolic ground. Arjuna's hesitation is every soul's hesitation. Within this text, Krishna counsels Arjuna thus: "Fix your mind on me, be devoted to me, sacrifice to me, bow down to me. Having thus united your whole self with me, taking me as the supreme goal, you shall come to me." With Krishna also teaching, "He who sees inaction in action and action in inaction is wise among men." Here Krishna teaches Arjuna that true wisdom lies in devotedly uniting the mind and heart with the divine, selflessly performing one's duty without attachment to results, and seeing all actions as expressions of a deeper spiritual reality, thereby guiding every soul toward inner liberation and oneness with the Supreme. The Bhagavad Gita, translating to Song of God, contains 18 chapters and 700 verses, and was likely composed between the 5th century BCE and the 2nd century CE. This text is a part of the larger epic, titled the Mahabharata or Mahabharata, meaning Great Bharata, chronicling the history of the Bharat dynasty. The same person who compiled the Vedas, the sage Vyasa, is credited as the author of the Mahabharata, which includes the Bhagavad Gita. Vyasa is also featured as a character within the Mahabharata, where he is the narrator and chronicler of the epic. While the exact date is uncertain, scholars place its origins within this period, and it reached its final form by the 4th century CE. Beyond battle, this text also discusses yoga. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna imparts the teachings of the 4 paths of yoga. The word yoga derives from the Sanskrit root yuj, meaning union, and refers to the union of the self with the divine, or unification of physical, mental, and spiritual aspects. The 4 paths are bhakti, karma, jnana, and raja. Bhakti, the devotional path, channels emotion into a form of seeing in which God is no longer an abstraction but a beloved. Jnana, the path of knowledge, disciplines the intellect and the attention so that ignorance can be unmasked. Karma yoga transforms work into offering. Raja Yoga disciplines the mind to rest beyond the flux of thought. These paths offer diverse avenues for individuals to attain spiritual liberation, catering to different temperaments and inclinations. These are not competing schools so much as complementary instruments for different dispositions of the soul. Modern scholars see the Gita as both revolutionary and traditional, paralleling the teachings of the Zen masters and the Neoplatonists. These texts, the Vedas, Upanishads, Ramayana, the Ramacharitamanasa, and Bhagavad Gita and the Mahabharata, act as lenses through which different eras view and reinterpret the mystical heart of Hinduism. Integrating these ancient writings with contemporary practice, what themes and core concepts can be found within the mystical Hinduism of the modern day? And what are the gods and goddesses of Hinduism? And what ideological concepts do they represent? Huston Smith, American professor, scholar, and author, in the Hinduism chapter of his book, The World's Religions, lays out a framework through which we can understand the basic principles that underlie the Hindu faith. He says that in Hindu ideology, there are 4 paths the soul seeks through various incarnations. The first is pleasure, the second, power, the third is charity, and the fourth, the spirit. In regards to the path of pleasure, Smith writes, "If pleasure is what you seek it intelligently. Sooner or later, everyone wants to experience more than a kaleidoscope of momentary pleasures, however delectable. The guiding principle is not to turn from desire until desire turns from you. Pleasure is essentially private, and the self is too small an object for perpetual satisfaction. Pleasure is too trivial to satisfy one's total nature. In regards to the path of power, Smith writes, "This too is a worthy goal, to be neither scorned nor condemned. Moreover, its satisfactions last longer, for unlike pleasure, success is a social achievement, and as such it involves the lives of others. For this reason, it commands a scope and importance that pleasure cannot boast." In regards to the path of charity, Smith writes, "Myriads have transformed the will to get into the will to give, the will to win into the will to serve, not to triumph but to do their best, to acquit themselves responsibly whatever the task at hand, has become their prime objective. This echoes the following Vedic verse, 'The powerful one should give to one in straits. Let them consider the road that lies ahead. Riches revolve just like chariots' wheels, coming to one now, then to another.'" In regards to the final path of spirituality, Smith writes, "As long as people are content with the prospect of pleasure, success, or service, the Hindu sage will not be likely to disturb them beyond offering some suggestions as to how to proceed more effectively. The critical point in life comes when these things lose their original charm, and one finds oneself wishing that life had something more to offer. We want being. We want to know. We want joy. Infinitely." To summarize these four paths, Smith writes the following: pleasure, success, responsible discharge of duty, and liberation. We have completed the circuit of what people think they want and what they want in actuality. What people most want that they can have, infinite being, infinite awareness, and infinite bliss, are within their reach. Not only are these goods within people's reach, says Hinduism, people already possess them. Next, we have the notion of karma. Karma is the principle of cause and effect, where actions in this life have consequences for future ones, a core concept in several Eastern religions like Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism. Karma can be defined as the sum of a person's actions in this and previous states of existence, viewed as deciding their fate in future existences, or the destiny or fate following as effect from cause. Smith defines the word in his book The World's Religions thus: "We live in a world in which there is no chance or accident. Those words are simply covers for ignorance. Karma declares that every decision must have its determinate consequences. The consequences of one's past decisions condition one's present lot." Echoing a similar sentiment, Carl Jung remarks the following: "Until we make the unconscious conscious, it will direct our lives and we will call it fate." Let's briefly review the concepts of Atman and Brahman, mentioned in our discussion of the Upanishads. Atman is the individual self. Brahman is the ultimate reality or supreme being of God. Atman is the essence that lives in all matter, such as humans, animals, and nature. Brahman is the divine essence and order of the universe. Harmony is unity between Atman and Brahman, the individual and the whole. Here the individual feels that they are experiencing the innermost divine core of their being. The individual self, or Atman, is losing its seemingly separate identity and is reuniting with what is perceived as its divine source, the universal self, or Brahman. In regards to this union, Smith continues, "The Atman, or God within, must change from concept to realization. This infinite center of every life, this hidden self, or Atman, is not less than Brahman, the Godhead." Manly P. Hall echoes this sentiment in the following quote: "We are the gods of the atoms that make up ourselves, but we are also the atoms of the gods that make up the universe." Moving onward to the concepts of Samsara and Moksha, briefly mentioned in our video on the Greek mysteries in relation to the Orphic concept of metempsychosis, or the transmigration of souls. Samsara is the cycle of birth and rebirth, or reincarnation, and is governed by how karma is created and balanced, while moksha is liberation from this cycle of samsara, with no need to reincarnate further. Smith writes, "This process by which an individual passes through a sequence of bodies is known as reincarnation or transmigration of the soul. In Sanskrit, samsara, a word that signifies endless passage through cycles of life, death, and rebirth. What people really want is liberation, or moksha, release from the finitude that restricts us from the limitless being, consciousness, or bliss our heart's desire. One may arrive at moksha and escape samsara through the yogic paths laid out by the Bhagavad Gita. Bhakti, the emotional path of devotion. Karmic, the active path of selfless service. Jnana, the philosophical path of knowledge or wisdom. And Raja, the royal art of meditation, which encompasses the above three. Each of these approaches contains contemplative technologies that can be used for liberation. Tantric streams complicate this map. Tantra, a complex and often controversial strand, offers ritual and embodied techniques aimed at integrating the powers of the world into awakening. Tantra often inverts classical notions of renunciation by insisting that the body and the world can be used as a means for liberation. Ritual, mantra, visualization, and sophisticated theories of energy and subtle body are deployed. Tantra has been a source of both profound spiritual technology and of controversy. Its methods are esoteric because they are transmitted within lineages. Its metaphors involve channels of force, centers of consciousness, and the integration of masculine and feminine powers. Next, we have the concept of Maya. Maya originally denoted the magic power with which a god can make human beings believe in what turns out to be an illusion or a veil. Maya encompasses anything with real or material form that does not reveal the hidden principles and implicit knowledge that creates it. Maya is the world that normally appears to us to be taken seriously, but understood as an illusion or a dream. It is the world of sense experience. Smith explains, the religious person seeks release from the wheel of life in order that their individuality may fade out into the world soul or Brahman. A young child seeing its first movie will mistake the moving pictures for actual objects, unaware that the lion growling from the screen is projected from a booth at the rear of a theater. Maya is seductive in the attractiveness in which it presents the world, trapping us within and leaving no desire to journey on. Coinciding with this concept of Maya is the concept of Lila, Sanskrit for play, and is used primarily to describe the divine acts of God. In Hinduism, Lila refers to the divine play of the cosmos, where creation itself is a spontaneous expression of Brahman's joy rather than an act of necessity. Shakespeare's idea that all the world's a stage mirrors this view by portraying life as a series of transient roles through which the self performs and learns. Both perspectives reveal existence as a sacred performance, where individuality is a temporary mask worn by the eternal consciousness that animates all things. Smith writes, "For all is Maya, Lila, the spellbinding dance of the cosmic magician, beyond which lies the boundless good, which all will achieve in the end. Like a child playing alone, God is the cosmic dancer, whose routine is all creatures and all worlds." The Hindu saint and poet Ram Prasad Sen describes it thus: if the world is a kite-flying competition, and the kites are individual souls, the Divine Mother is holding all the strings, playing with the kites. Occasionally one breaks free, moksha, and Mother laughs to see it go. Bondage and liberation are both parts of her play. We move on to the overarching Trinitarian archetypes that Hinduism interacts with. The Trinity or Trimurti of supreme divinity in Hinduism is made up of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, personifying creation, preservation, and destruction. In mystical Hinduism, Brahma personifies the creative intelligence through which the infinite manifests form and order within the cosmic dream. Vishnu embodies the sustaining principle of harmony and preservation, maintaining the balance of existence through compassion and divine law. Shiva represents the transformative power of dissolution and liberation, revealing that destruction is not negation, but the mystical return of all things to their source in the absolute. From a mystical perspective found in later Hindu texts, Brahma, the creator, symbolizes the ephemeral act of creation and is seldom the focus of direct worship, unlike Vishnu and Shiva, whose cosmic roles of preservation and transformation are intimately linked with ongoing spiritual processes. Saraswati, Lakshmi, and Parvati, collectively known as the Tridevi, represent the dynamic energies associated with Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva respectively, and function as their divine consorts within Hindu cosmology. Within the mystical and philosophical traditions of Hinduism, the cosmic functions of creation, preservation, and transformation, represented by Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, are conceptualized as expressions of a cyclical nature and existential process. Many schools teach that Brahman, the ultimate reality, encompasses these three archetypal forces, and that deities such as Ganesha or Ganesh personify divine wisdom, removing obstacles during the cosmic play. The incarnations of Krishna and Rama are regarded as avatars of Vishnu, revealing transcendent principles in human experience. A common mantra among the followers of Shiva incorporates the divine sound that we discussed earlier, Om, and transpires thus: Om Namah Shivaya, the meaning of which is traditionally translated as salutations to the auspicious one. This is a mantra that holds multiple layers of meaning within mystical Hindu practice. On one level, it is an act of surrender and reverence to Shiva as the supreme consciousness, invoked to purify the soul and dissolve inner obstacles through divine grace. Esoterically, it also represents praise to the divine self within, recognizing Shiva as both immanent and transcendent. Certain tantric interpretations associate the 5 syllables Na, Ma, Shi, Va, and Ya with the 5 elements earth, water, fire, air, and ether, symbolizing the unification of the material and spiritual cosmos within the practitioner. Beyond the Trimurti and Tridevi, Hinduism honors countless deities who personify natural forces, virtues, and cosmic principles. Hanuman embodies devotion and strength. Ganesha, or Ganesh, removes obstacles and grants wisdom. Kartikeya symbolizes valor and divine youth, while Saraswati's companion forms, like Gayatri, along with deities such as Surya, Agni, both deities from the Rig Veda discussed earlier, and the river goddess Ganga represent the radiant and purifying powers of consciousness itself. Kali stands as the fierce embodiment of time and liberation, dissolving illusion and ego, while goddesses like Durga, Lalita, and Bhairavi reveal the transformative and protective aspects of the divine feminine that guide the soul toward awakening. In Hindu cosmology, the yugas unfold as vast cycles through which the moral and spiritual fabric of the world rises and declines, each age reflecting a different degree of harmony between humanity and the divine order. The gods and goddesses embody the forces that sustain this cosmic rhythm, from the creative wisdom of Saraswati and the sustaining grace of Lakshmi to the transformative power of Kali and the protective might of Durga. Figures such as Ganesha or Ganesh, Hanuman, and Kartikeya serve as mediators between human aspiration and celestial law, guiding the seeker through the turning ages toward spiritual renewal. Together they animate the eternal dance of creation, preservation, and dissolution, through which consciousness continually rediscovers its unity with the Absolute. As we explore ideas like Maya, karma, and moksha, we begin to see that mystical Hinduism is not merely a map of the soul's journey, but a revelation of divine unity behind all existence. The same insight that perceives the world as Lila, the cosmic play of the One, also recognizes that truth wears many faces. From this understanding comes one of Hinduism's most profound teachings, that every sincere path, whatever its name or form, leads ultimately to the same eternal reality. Hinduism teaches that ultimate truth is one, though sages describe it in many ways, recognizing all genuine paths as expressions of the same divine reality. Unlike many Western traditions that assert exclusive revelation, Hindu thought views religious diversity as the natural manifestation of humanity's varied temperaments, cultures, and approaches to the infinite. Huston Smith describes it thus: early on, the Vedas announced Hinduism's classic contention that the various religions are but different languages through which God speaks to the human heart. Truth is one, sages call it by different names. It is possible to climb life's mountain from any side, but when the top is reached, the trails converge. At base, in the foothills of theology, ritual, and organizational structure, the religions are distinct. Differences in culture, history, geography, and collective temperament All make for diverse starting points. Far from being deplorable, this is good. It adds richness to the totality of the human venture. This echoes the story of Edshu, the West African trickster god, retold in Joseph Campbell's book, The Hero with a Thousand Faces from 1949. The prank of the multicolored hat. The day came when the trickster god Edshu walked along a path situated between two fields. Upon seeing the prospective fields that lay ahead, each containing a farmer hard at work, a game was needed, the god thought. Edshu decided to play each farmer against each other. The god donned a hat of many colors. One side was colored red, another side colored white, green before and black behind. The trickster god made his way through the path that snaked between both of the fields. One farmer would see the god's hat to be red, whereas the other farmer would see his hat to be white. Once the farmers were done for the day, they made their way back to their village. As the two were returning, one said to the other, "Did you see that odd fella? You know, the one with the white hat?" The other replied, "Don't you mean the guy with the red hat?" To which the other snapped, "No, it was definitely white." Yet the other would insist, "I saw it with my own eyes, it was most unequivocally red." "You must be blind from the sun," said one. "You must be drunk," the other shot back. So who was right? Were both of them right? Maybe in part, but perhaps neither of them was fully correct. This concept of religious pluralism allows the practitioner to understand the underlying metaphors, symbols, allegories, and myths that comprise cosmic truths across faiths. In the spirit of the underlying unity beyond religious pluralism, we would be remiss to discuss mystical Hinduism without citing a Hindu mystic. These words are from the 19th century Hindu saint Ramakrishna, who lived 1836 to 1886. Ramakrishna sought God successively through the practices of a number of the world's great religions. He sought God through the person of Christ, the imageless God-directed teachings of the Quran, and a variety of Hindu God embodiments. In each instance, the same God was revealed, now incarnate in Christ, now speaking through the Prophet Muhammad, now in the guise of Vishnu the Preserver or Shiva the Completer, the words of whom we will also borrow from the writings of Huston Smith. Ramakrishna says, "God has made different religions to suit different aspirations, times, and countries. God is like the liquid in a lake. Hindus call it jal, Muslims call it pani, and the Christians call it water, but it is all one and the same thing." Ramakrishna continues, "As one can ascend to the top of a house by means of a ladder or a bamboo or a staircase or a rope, so diverse are the ways and means to approach God, and every religion in the world shows one of these ways. People partition off their lands by means of boundaries, but no one can partition off the all-embracing sky overhead. The indivisible sky surrounds all and includes all." Ramakrishna expands further. "So people in ignorance say, 'My religion is the only one, my religion is the best.' But when a heart is illumined by true knowledge, it knows that above all these wars of sects and sectarians presides the one indivisible, eternal, all-knowing bliss. All gods and goddesses are but various aspects of the one absolute Brahman." From all of this, we can see that mystical Hinduism is a living archive of techniques, doctrines, and narratives that orient the seeker toward union with a deeper dimension of being. Its primary claim is that the self is not merely what it appears. Its chief technologies are sound, devotion, disciplined action, and contemplative insight. Its social forms range from royal court ritual to village festival. Its philosophical articulations range from systematic dualism to radical non-dualism. Modernity has diversified the field further, producing schools that stress social engagement, psychological transformation, or experiential techniques adaptable to global seekers. Mystical Hinduism comprises a diverse constellation of practices and traditions unified by the metaphysical assertion that the individual self possesses a depth beyond the empirical ego. Modern reinterpretations emerged through reform movements advocating monotheism and rationalism, revivalist saints promoting bhakti and charismatic initiation, and intellectuals translating ancient teachings into the language of science and psychology. The colonial encounter created new audiences, and Western seekers often adopted yoga and meditation as techniques of mind training abstracted from their religious roots. Contemporary movements vary widely, with some stressing ethical social engagement as sacred, and others focusing on personal enlightenment through detachment from worldly concerns. Certain groups interpret scriptures metaphorically to align with secular modernity, and others uphold ritual exactitude and lineage authority. Teachers and communities selectively appropriate practices, sometimes disconnecting them from their original ritual context, a process that can empower but also dislocate traditions. As a result, mystical Hinduism in the modern era reflects a pluralistic landscape where sacred traditions like Tantra or esoteric practice, Advaita or non-dual philosophy, Bhakti or devotional mysticism, and numerous living lineages coexist, continually adapting and reinventing themselves across both Eastern and Western cultural terrains. In the modern Western world, the ancient current of Hindu devotion flows anew through movements such as the Hare Krishna temples of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, found throughout the United States and Europe, the BAPS Swaminarayan Fellowship, with intricate temples across the United States and Europe as well, and countless other lineages that carry these timeless principles of divine unity and service into the rhythm of contemporary life across the globe. Across traditions, Hinduism celebrates a wide range of festivals that honor the cycles of nature, the triumph of light over darkness, and the many manifestations of the divine. Diwali, or the Festival of Lights, celebrates the return of light and virtue through stories of Rama, Krishna, and Lakshmi. Holi, or the Festival of Colors, marks renewal and the victory of devotion over ego through the tale of Prahlada and Vishnu. Other festivals such as Navaratri, Durga Puja, Janmashtami, Ganesh Chaturthi, Raksha Bandhan, Makar Sankranti, each express devotion to different deities and cosmic principles, reflecting the diversity and inclusivity at the heart of Hindu philosophy. In our next video, we will uncover another practice with its roots in the same religious and cultural context as Hinduism, tracing the mystical philosophies that arose in the Ganges basin as the Buddha awakened under the Bodhi tree. Is Buddhism a religion or a philosophy? Can you practice other religions while practicing Buddhism? We'll explore the answers to these questions, as well as how Buddhist mysticism both draws on and diverges sharply from its Vedic roots. We will trace the life of Siddhartha Gautama, as well as the core concepts inherent in Buddhist practice, as we try to understand how the search for liberation unites all the world's esoteric quests. Join us next time as we journey from the cosmic play of mystical Hinduism into the stillness of mystical Buddhism, where the search for liberation becomes the direct realization of emptiness, mindfulness, and the luminous nature of consciousness. Where will this journey take us after Buddhism? Like and subscribe to find out. Thank you for watching. Find more at joinseek.org.